Welcome to another great day in the Haven. Today I'm in conversation with debut author, novelist J.S. Living. Hey, studio audience. J.S. has written a wonderful adventure entitled The Covenant of Blood. She is a recipient of an MFA in writing, and J.S. has dabbled in novellas, comic books, and short stories, and has penned her first novel that takes you into the world of supernatural, bloodthirsty vampires. Please join me in welcoming J.S. Living to the Haven. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, first of all, we got to show this beautiful book.
Yes.
It is called The Covenant of Blood. Beautiful book. So, this is your first novel.
Yes.
What inspired you to write it?
See, I knew you were going to ask me that question.
Oh. So you rehearsed it?
No, well, I've told the story like countless times, so it's
Okay.
not even rehearsed at this point. It's just rote memory.
Okay.
Okay, so I was teaching a creative writing class at the library in my hometown, Augusta, Georgia. And one of the prompts I gave to my students was about writing a letter. And so at the time, I was also teaching a class at Augusta University. And to those students, I was telling them about Elizabeth Bathory.
Mm-hmm.
And we were, because it was like an exercise and like learning how to cite your sources and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I guess I'll write my letter about that because that's just, what we're doing right now. So then I wrote the letter, and that was like the thing that started the book. And then I was like, I wonder what would happen if Elizabeth Bathory and Vlad the Impaler had a kid, since they're both known as the first vampires.
Uh-huh.
And
Is that like true vampire lore?
yeah, so.
For those of us who are not familiar.
Okay, so Vlad the Impaler is known as Dracula in Bram Stoker's book Dracula. He got that title because he was rumored, well, not rumored too, he actually had his enemies, he would impale them on sticks and have buckets under them, and the buckets would fill with the blood of the people who were impaled. And then the theory was that he would take that blood and drink it, which is how Bram Stoker came up with his version of Dracula, and hence why we have all the lore about that.
Right.
As for Elizabeth Bathory, the mother in the book, she is known as the first female vampire because she's rumored to have bathed in the blood of her servants and the other women who she, killed because she was a serial killer. So, yeah. Based in lore.
Okay. So very, very interesting. And I've often wondered, what is this fascination about vampires? We've had so many television series and movies about them, and you wrote a book about them. So what is the fascination from your perspective, and what compelled you to write about them?
I think in general the fascination is just that like vampires are supposed to be like these mysterious, sneaky, aloof thing, and also I think it's the romance thing.
Yeah, the sexiness of
yeah. I think it's the sexiness and the romance,
Crazy.
and it just makes people be like, I think I want to know what that's like, or want to live in that. And so, with our great imaginations, writers and other people just really get into it.
Okay. So, talk to us about the title. How did the title come to fruition?
The title took some work because
Did you have a working title before?
I had several, and I wish I brought my little notebook in here, but I didn't. I left it in my car. I could have told you some of the other titles I came up with, but essentially, like some of them dealt with the book started out as novellas. So there's like 3 sections in it. So those section titles were like the original novella titles.
Okay.
Before I combine it into one book.
Very clever.
And so the novella titles, I went through a lot of different versions of those. Like I think one of them was going to be like a letter to mother, and then it was like Mother Bites Back and some other stuff. Initially was gonna focus on like just her finding her. I mean, it focuses on her finding her mother, but eventually it was supposed to be like more of the mother's story incorporated in there. But by the time I finished the whole thing, it wasn't like that at all.
Okay.
So it turned into more of the thing about promises and promises being broken. And then another word for a promise is a covenant.
Yes.
And so the covenant of blood.
And then you have several blood covenants there. You know, you have the blood covenant between husband and wife, and you have the blood covenant between mother and daughter, and father and daughter.
Right. So that was purposeful. Like, that was on purpose.
Okay. I love it. So when did you decide to write it? So I know, so you said that you had these different novellas, and when you were writing the novellas, did you see the end game of what it is today, or did you have to go back and scoop these all up and make them into a beginning, middle, end?
A little of both.
Okay.
So when I published the novellas, I didn't know anything about self-publishing. Totally new at it. The person who was teaching me how to go through it, she was like, oh, you can just publish it on Amazon. You know, she was like, I write novellas all the time, and, you know, I get paid X amount of dollars. At the time, I was really in need of some cash, so I was like, this would be a great way to do that.
Good motivation.
Yeah, but it turns out that, like, using Amazon's ISBN is not necessarily the best route to go.
Oh, okay.
And so,
did you hear that, writers? Using the Amazon ISBN is not the best way to go.
Not the best way to go.
Says this author. Why not? What happened?
So, well, it's not anything that happened particularly. It's just like when you publish with Amazon's ISBN specifically, it means that you can only sell your book on Amazon. If you try to get into a brick and mortar store like Barnes and Noble, like I was trying to do,
they're not gonna be able to find it.
Yep, they can't find it in the system. So it's always best to buy your own from Bowker.
That is a really good tidbit.
Yeah. I tell people that all the time, because
Okay.
I'm always afraid that they're going to be looking for it in a brick and mortar and they can't find it.
That is really, really good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, and our studio audience agrees with you. That's good information to have.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you were...
Oh, yeah. So I found out Amazon was not the best way to go. So I was like, okay, I really want this in Barnes and Noble. So I was like, how can I do that? And then I started like looking up information about how to do that. And then I came across this woman named Monique DiMensa, who has all these...
Are we plugging Monique?
I'm sorry?
Are we plugging Monique? Say her name again?
Yeah, Monique DiMensa. She's got, I don't know what her company's called now. She's got a Facebook group though, and she does these courses ever so often. She has a lot of free information on her Instagram and her Facebook, but she also has a course that teaches you how to like use your social media and stuff so you can market your things. The course is really good. I still suck at social media. I don't have the patience to do everything in there, but it's got a ton of good information. So if you have the time, I do it.
And so basically you're saying that when you get into this game, it's good to have a good social media platform.
Yes, it's excellent.
Even though you don't like doing it.
I'm just not good at it.
But you can get like Hootsuite and then you just publish it once and it hits all those different platforms.
Well, I actually tried a different, it was a different app that I used, but the one I used, it wasn't very good because Amazon, because Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, they all had like different guidelines. So I'd have to like modify each post specifically for each of the platforms. I mean, I guess it's easier if you focus on one, but your ideal is to post on everything.
Yeah, and do it only once or twice.
Right.
So, you had these novellas, you pulled them together. Oh, how long did it take for you to, not necessarily write each novella, because that was probably years of, I'm assuming.
Not really.
Oh, well, look, girl, school me. Tell me how you did it.
No. So the first novella, it really only took me like 2-3 months. And then the second one was like the same thing. It was the ending that took me a while to get to.
Okay.
So like I said, after I learned about all this publishing stuff or whatever, I found an editor, and I had the editor like go through, and I was like, hey, I really want to publish this. What do I need to like have cohesive in here to like start my ending? So I got the editor to read the first 2 parts. She went through it, and then I wrote the ending after getting her feedback, and then I sent it back to her for the rest of the feedback. Having an editor is also very important.
Wow, yeah.
You can self-edit, but
you'll
miss some stuff. You'll miss a lot of things.
You're always going to miss something. So, okay, that's a very, very good point. So, you have an MFA in writing. Yes. So, you've known for some time that you wanted to write and be an author and to publish a book.
Oh, yeah.
So what inspired you to write And then what inspired you to write this book?
Oh, that's always fun. Third grade.
Third grade is when you started writing? Okay.
Yes. So third grade, I had this teacher, Miss Weinstein. Don't know where she's at now. She's one of my favorite teachers, though.
If she's watching today, we want to thank Miss Weinstein.
Yes. So
third grade. And what school?
Jamestown Elementary.
Okay, Jamestown Elementary.
Yep.
Shout out to Miss Weinstein.
Miss Weinstein. She was great. We were Miss Weinstein's Einsteins. That was our class name.
Very nice.
Yeah. So she would give us like writing prompts, and then some days she'd give us like free writes or whatever. And I don't remember everything the story entailed, but I remember one time we did this free write, and I ended up writing a story about the swamp girl, and I don't remember anything about what the story was about besides the swamp girl part. Anyways, she gave me some high kudos on that, and she told me she thought I had a really cool future as a writer. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, it's amazing. I mean, teachers or other adults in your life, when they give you that kind of encouragement and boost, it can go a long, long way.
It really can.
And look at you now. That is awesome. So, what was your process in writing this book?
Whew. It was an interesting process. So, like I said, it started with that letter, and then I did like not super deep research, but looking at some Wikipedia pages to learn a little bit more about Vlad the Impaler and Elizabeth Bathory. And then I have like this timeline document that like has like their history up there and the years that it happened, so that I could make cohesive sense of how these characters came together. So as I was writing, I kept referencing that list. I forgot what the question was.
Your process?
Oh, yeah, so process. So looking at the timeline and writing, and I kind of just switched off between the two. And my process is kind of chaotic because I don't just follow one thing. Sometimes I write and listen to music. Sometimes I write in complete silence. I'm one of those people when I get like hyper focused on something, like I'm solely focused on that one thing. So usually when I'm writing, it's like I'll start like after work or something, and I'll be up to like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning if I get into the zone, because that's the best time for me to write. I'm actually a night owl, but day job, so can't be a night owl with a day job.
Vampire.
Kind of like a vampire.
But we're not making any comparisons here.
No, of course not.
Okay, so, and you actually, I was going to ask you about what is going on in your background, because I'm so fascinated by people who can write. It's almost like historical fiction, but it's not. Tell me, what genre would you say would you place this in?
So it's urban fantasy.
Urban fantasy.
Yeah, I would say if I wrote about like her parents and their past, that would be more historical fiction.
Okay.
But this book technically takes place in like 2015. It's never expressly stated, but they've got smartphones and smartwatches. So obviously it has to be in the 2000s,
which is
somewhere.
So cool. Yeah. Because most of the time, and I don't watch the vampire stuff, but in the movies, of course, it was like modern day or whatever.
Right.
But I prefer the older, back when her parents were around.
Right.
Those kind of stories, because I just love that period in time, and it just so happens that vampires are, doing their thing at that time.
Right.
So, not that I believe in them, but not that I don't believe in them. Right. It's like the unicorn.
I mean, I think there's some truth to everything that we think of as magical or mythical.
We never know. So, are there any particular authors that you follow?
It's a very long list, too many to name.
But who are your top 3?
That's even harder.
Okay.
So
who immediately comes to mind?
In the vein of vampires, I would say Darren Shan.
Okay.
He's this. I think he's from England. But he wrote the Darren. He wrote the. I guess it's called the Darren Shan series. Anyways, it's about vampires too. His take is interesting though, because in his book it's like vampires and vampanese. And the vampanese are like the terrifying vampires that we think of, but but they turn purple from draining people's blood, and they have sharp red nails, and I don't know. It's a really good series.
And so the vampires are what?
The vampires in that one, they're just people who they don't drain people's bodies. They just take a little bit of the blood to survive, and they have all the original qualities. They have the super strength.
polite vampires.
Not necessarily. Some of them can be. It depends on. But they have some weird customs, and if you ever read the series, you'll find out what I'm talking about.
See, I'm fascinated again.
Yeah.
And who do you idolize that's not in that vampire realm?
Ooh, tough choice.
Right.
I would say recently I've gotten into. When I was younger, I've always wanted to see like Black authors in the YA, young adult fiction world, because there's just so few of us. So I would say like circa.
But the numbers are going up.
Yeah. So by the time I'd say from grad school to present, I've definitely changed who my favorites are. So I'd say right now, it's JL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the author of Wings of Ebony.
Familiar.
I would say Tomi Adeyemi.
Okay.
Children of Blood and Bone, because that's an amazing series.
Yeah, that is an amazing series. I haven't read it, but I've heard about it.
It's really good. Still waiting on that book 3.
My son is into that.
Still waiting on book 3. She's doing a TV show right now, or a movie or something. We're waiting on book 3.
She needs to get her priorities together. Get that book written.
And then I'd say I just got a book by Nicola Yoon, who I've heard of, but I hadn't read any of her stuff yet.
Okay.
So I just got like 1 or 2 of her books. So I'm gonna read those.
Okay.
I don't know. There's like pretty much all of the incoming or all the Black YA authors that are cropping up. I'd say all of them. Jason Reynolds.
Jason Reynolds, Kwame Alexander.
Yes.
And she actually did that television. Wasn't a series. It was a made-for-TV movie or something. Yoon, I can't remember the name of it, but very, very good.
It was something with stars.
Yes. And it was the movie that made me go read that book.
Yeah.
Versus the other way around.
Yeah, I haven't read that book yet, but it's on my list.
Okay, those are some good people there that you mentioned. So, what are some of the challenges that you faced in self-publishing?
Oh, well, self-publishing is a beast.
It can be.
It's the marketing that's the biggest challenging.
Okay, well, all right.
Marketing is the biggest challenge because you have to figure out like, okay, how can I make content that's going to interest readers and keep them interested in my stuff? And a lot of times, when you've got a day job and then you're trying to also write and then you have to turn around and take care of your home responsibilities, it's a lot in between to do all that. So it makes having to sit down and make a social media post every single day like more challenging, I'd say. Other than that, I do really well with the in-person and the meet and greets and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I would say that's true. Yeah. Your personality is such that it just kind of shines through and magnetizes people.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, I could see that 100%. So marketing is the biggest was the biggest hurdle for you. Challenge.
I think it still is.
That's pretty good. I've heard stories about people who get with, and I don't know,
vanity presses?
Not the vanity presses, but the ones that they put their services out there and say, we'll publish your book, and really they do what the author could do, but the author is paying them to do something that they could do themselves, which is for the book design. So
I don't think any author should do their own book cover design.
I'm not saying that they should, but you could go to an on-demand press where you pay one fee for all of that, for the ISBN, that's not Amazon, for the book cover, for the editing. I had an author on yesterday that told me later like how much she paid to get her book published by one of these services. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I know BookBaby, Trafford, none of the Amazon ones, but other publishing companies, and this is what they do. They're 9 to 5, but they're on demand. So you pay them like $3,000 and they will do all of that work for you, including getting it up on Amazon.
See,
on their website.
I was like, I can do all of this on my own.
You could do all of that on your own.
Like I said,
but people are paying way more than $2,000-$3,000 to get that done.
I think that's ridiculous. But I will say that the only reason I learned that I could do all that on my own is, like I mentioned, Monique DiMensa. She had all this free information. I was like, okay, let me take this note and this note down and that note. So when I paid for a course, that was just for me to learn the social media marketing aspect. I mean, she goes through the other stuff too. But yeah, so her free content was great because I was like, okay, I go to Bowker to get my ISBN. I can go on Readsy and find an editor, or I can go and look for an editor somewhere else if I see somebody who like has a good one. I was like, I can go and just look up, you know, go on Instagram and easily find millions of people who do book covers.
I'm so glad that you're saying this because that is something that I want our viewers to know as well. That it may seem daunting, you know, after you finish your book, now what? That question of now what? You know, how do I get it out there? And I do want them to know that there are resources out there. You just mentioned that go on Instagram. And just kind of, how did you find them on Instagram?
I literally just looked for, I think I went in the Instagram search box and I was like, cover artists. And then if I couldn't find anything up there, I just went to people, you know, a lot of artists are up there. So I just, you know, scrolled through different artists and styles I liked, and I just contacted the people I found. And then eventually I think eventually one of those searches for a cover artist, I came across the one who did mine. Her name is Julia Caligola.
So everybody can see that beautiful, beautiful cover.
Yeah, her name is Julia Caligola, and my ex-husband actually took the photo, and so I sent her.
Because this is you.
Yes, that is me.
I love it.
That is me on my cover.
I love it.
He took the photo, and so I was like, hey, can you like, so I messaged her to see what her rates were. She had decent rates. So I was like, hey, can you like take this photo of me and fix the hair? Because the hair did not look as good as it does in that.
Breathtaking.
And I asked her if she could, do a medallion. I had a different medallion, but she said she couldn't get a clearer image of that. So she replaced it. And so that's how I got my cover.
Wow. Wow, that's great. So main thing is you don't have to spend all this money to get it out there. Don't let that be the reason why you don't publish.
Exactly. And if you're looking for a cover, the best thing you can do is if you have a friend who does photography, find somebody who looks like your main character, have your friend take the photo, you know, pay them what they're worth or whatever they ask for, you know, as long as it's reasonable. And then find your cover artist and send them the photos, especially if you want a unique cover. Because the problem I ran into is I couldn't find any unique covers of black women with white hair. Like I couldn't find any good stock images of it. So I was like, I'd rather it be my face than.
Yeah, and you know what the beauty of your cover is, it will entice someone to pick it up. And that's what you want your cover to do. You want your cover to act as a magnet, to lure the person over to, at the very least, flip to the back, right? So that back cover is really important. That content on the on the back of the cover is very important because that will make them want to open it up and investigate further. So those are all elements of how to entice and get that reader who ordinarily may not pick up a book about vampires, but they don't necessarily know that. You know, when they see the cover. So thank you for that tidbit of information and sharing that.
No problem.
With
I love
my
sharing
audience. So is there? Let me see. So what advice would you give to new authors or writers who are out there, who are, you know, thinking about an idea, not really sure how to start and finish as you have? Give us some advice from that vantage point.
I don't know. I think the hardest part is starting because you can't do anything with a blank page. So my advice is just try to write that first sentence and see where it takes you. Because once you get the first sentence down, if you're really into your work, the rest will come. And it might take some time. It might take months, like my novellas, or 2 years, like the whole book did. But eventually you'll get there.
Yeah. And speaking with other writers, outlining is something that some of them go to.
So I'm more of a
pantster.
Well, I'm a plantster.
Okay.
I do a little bit of planning and a little bit of pantsing.
Okay,
I'm in the
love
middle.
that. Okay.
Yeah. So I do like a very broad outline of what I want my story to be about. When I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, for those of you who may know of it, I went to the Atlanta campus. I took this really cool film class with this really cool professor who he really taught us how to like break down things into like bits and pieces for television shows. And so he called it a concept document. So whenever I start a new project, I always start with that concept document because I know that the information in it's going to change, but it gives me like a broad idea of where I'm going to go. And the concept document usually has like your working title. It has like what the theme of your book is, which contrary to belief is not a word, it is a sentence. So like love is blind or something like that, you know, it's a sentence. And then after that, you do like a quick little outline, you do like a quick little summary. So it's a story about blank who wants to blank, but can't because blank, so decides to blank. I fill that out. And then from there, I do like a little mini outline, maybe like a paragraph or so about what's going to happen in each chapter.
In each chapter, okay.
Yeah. And then after that and then after that's done, I start writing. So.
Okay.
And then when I start writing, everything I wrote in that concept document goes out the window.
So, but do you write consecutively, chapter 1 through, or do
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It depends
I
on.
had a feeling that you kind of bounce around in chapters.
I start consecutively, and then I'd be like, I don't know what's going to happen in this middle section, but I know what happens down here.
Yeah.
I'm really good at my beginnings and my endings. My middles.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I struggle with my middles. So what usually happens is, I think I mentioned this to you before, like I wrote like another book before I wrote this one, but I didn't send that one off for any type of publishing because like the middle is just not good.
Where you want it to be.
No, it's just not good.
Are you going to go back to it?
I've been thinking about it.
Maybe
it might
the
be
next project?
No, it might be a few years before I go back to that one.
You gotta feel it.
Well, it's not even that. It's just the concept is just so daunting. It's gonna be a YA.
It's gonna be a challenge.
It's gonna be a YA novel, and I created my own gods and goddesses.
I love that.
And then the main character, initially in the version I have right now, she like came down to earth to find the soul of her brother, who's another god. But the more I look at it, the more I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I've been playing around with some other ideas about like what happened. Like maybe she just lost her memory of becoming a goddess or something. Or I could go back to my original idea, which was that she was just going to be the daughter of one of the gods, but haven't decided yet.
Well, I look forward to reading that book. So that sounds very interesting. I love the concept of gods and goddesses.
Yes.
And your next offering, in between books. Tell us how we can find you.
Oh yes, so I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, although I don't check my Twitter as much as the JS Living. It's literally the same thing on everything.
Okay.
And also, if you guys purchase a copy of my book, I don't know how many of you guys know this, there is a QR code in the back, and it will take you to a short story.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And the short story is actually, there's like 3 short stories in it. And you'll get to know some of the backgrounds of some of the characters in this book.
There's a bonus at the end of the book.
There's a bonus. And if you sign up on my website, www.thejsliving.com, you'll get the chance to sign up for my newsletter. And when you sign up for that, you automatically get another short story that also ties into this book. So lots of freebies.
Lots of freebies.
And I do not spam your email. I send out an email like once every 3 months. So you won't get that many from me, but there's always updates.
That can be a real pain in the gut.
Yeah.
So thank you, JS Living, for joining us today. And Dreamcatchers, thanks for tuning in and being a big part of why we do this. It is my hope that you are inspired in your own writer's journey and that this season will inspire you to continue and finish that daggone book. So you can stream us on any of our 9 streaming platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and the #1 network on the continent, the American Legacy Network. For more information on where to tune into a broadcast or a podcast, visit our website at www.writershavenshow.com. And you can also follow moi on Instagram and Facebook at Arthur V. Helena. On a side note, I hope you're following our exciting news for October 2024. Join me and the Writers Haven Show crew for a fabulous time aboard the Virgin Voyages Valiant Lady. There will be great ports of call, but the best part of it all is you will be able to get up and close and personal with, I don't know why I can't say this, with some of your favorite authors. And if you're a published author, you may get a chance to be interviewed on the show while we're cruising. I mean, does it get any better than that? There will be master classes, literary cafes, panel discussions, and plenty of fun. So there will be limited slots, so hit us up on www.writershavenshow.com for the details. That's all for now. And until next time, catch fire on purpose.